Hello. Everyone else had a weird reaction to that, and guess what? I'm having one too. Hi, I'm Melissa. My talk today is intentionally unintended, redefining dark patterns. A little bit about me, as Tom said, and as I'm Melissa. I am a researcher at YouTube, working on the YouTube monetization teams for creators, so allowing them to make money on YouTube. I have some interesting hobbies. I like doing jigsaw puzzles. I do them while listening to podcasts, and I record myself and sending them to my siblings who hate me for it, but they will keep getting them because I like doing it. I like traveling around and finding cool views. This is in Lugano in Switzerland. This is my first time in Budapest, so I'm excited to go around and see what cool things there are to see in this city. And as Tom alluded to, I love Duolingo. Duolingo is my favorite app on my phone, and that's funny to say since I work on one of the apps on my phone. And that was my streak last night. So today I will be at 1,369. I recently moved to Switzerland about a little over a year ago, switched from Spanish to German, and now I'm doing both. So this is really fun to me. I think it's more gamification than dark patterns, though there's plenty of memes online saying how dark Duolingo can get. Obviously, this one's not Duolingo breaking into your house to keep you going, but some people, it's funny when notifications kind of counteract each other. So that leads me to one of my other favorite hobbies that has emerged in the past few years. And it's not quite there at Duolingo, but it's coming up. And what it is, it's spotting dark patterns in GDPR compliance notices. I make no promises, or I make no... I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I love my job. So when I see these things pop up when I'm using the internet, I screenshot them, I tweet them out, and there's quite a thriving community online of people spotting these things. So I'm going to share some of my favorite ones that I've found with you guys today. So imagine you are online, you're using a website, you are probably going to go check the latest dumpster fire, that is the global news cycle, and you want to read up on it, and you see this pop-up appear, and it's saying, hey, you've decided that you want to edit your cookies. And if you look closer, you actually have this insane scroll bar on the right side that you are technically supposed to go in and manually uncheck every single one of the partners that is trying to get your data. That is absolutely egregious. And that's one of the most blatant dark patterns I've found. But it's also intended that way. They know that people don't want to sit there and scroll and uncheck all those boxes, so people are probably going to give up. They're going to accept the cookies, and now your data is gone to how many dozens, if not hundreds, of companies. Another example, this one's not a GDPR one, but imagine you are clicking on a help article online, and you go in, and you see this pop-up appear the minute you start scrolling down, and it's saying, hey, you should switch to the app, or if you don't, you could go to the App Store and get it. And there might be reasons you don't want to do it, but of course, if you click on either of those buttons, oh, sorry, this is a zoomed-in version. Yeah, get the app, or go to the app if you already have it. And of course, if you click on either of them and you don't have the app, you're going to be taken to the App Store, and it's going to try and force you to download the app, which is also annoying because you just wanted to read the answer to a help article, right? So last one, this is the most egregious one I found. I didn't find this one. I found it using the hashtag dark patterns link or hashtag on Twitter. Fun fact, shameless plug for everyone who's contributing to it, because it's very entertaining and frustrating at the same time. You go to a website, again, for whatever reason you're there, that doesn't involve addressing your cookies from GDPR, and there's literally a timer on this accept button that's counting down, trying to force you to accept the cookies. And it makes you wonder, what's going to happen when it hits 0? Is my computer going to explode? Am I going to be, I don't know, is it going to hack into my computer? I mean, there's lots of reasons this is wrong, and it's really easy to laugh about these things, but then you just realize and stop and take a step back and realize this is not a good experience for our users, and these are obviously very clear examples of dark patterns. So what are dark patterns? That's kind of what I'm trying to try and help address today. So Harry Brignall, who's the founder of darkpatterns.org, defines a dark pattern as a deceptive user interface. It's very simple, very easy to remember, but it's very vague. I think there's many ways you could look at this and think, that doesn't really cover all the ways that are being exploited as some of these designs are, I guess, being exploited to get users to do things they don't intend to do. So Melissa Smith, that's me, I say that a dark pattern is a design that intentionally takes advantage of human behaviors to achieve unintended actions from a user. So obviously, it's not as easy to roll off of the tongue as Harry's definition is, but I think this one goes more into it. I'm going to break it down over the course of the rest of this presentation. So the two things I really want you to focus on are the words intentionally and unintended. So if a design is intentionally designed in a way to make a user not want to make a user do something they may not intend to do, that's a dark pattern. So there's many examples of just bad design, and that's a whole separate conversation of just what's maybe confusing, and there's a whole separate thread on, or hashtag bad UX or hashtag bad designs, and some of them are funny, some of them are just maybe unintended. There's lots of reasons why a design might be bad, but when a design is a dark pattern, it's been intentionally designed that way. So when you think about this example that I showed earlier, someone intentionally designed it this way so that anyone who wanted to not share their cookies with these partners would have to go in and uncheck those boxes. So now they're intentionally making it difficult to not share your cookies, and that's going to result in a lot of people just being like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I'll just share it, and we'll deal with it later. So that's an unintended action from the user who wanted to not share their cookies. So how does this happen? So I'm a researcher, and I mean, many designers would come up here and just say how you could lay things out to make it less confusing or more clear. But for me, it's just more about thinking about from the user perspective and from a psychology perspective, why is this happening? So there's a few things that are going on here that result in dark patterns or allow them to exist. So the first one is emotional manipulation. So if I am a user and I'm coming in and I want to do something, I might be a dark pattern could be created to shame me or maybe even guilt me into not doing this thing that I otherwise intended to do. So for instance, this is an example from a pop-up that pops up on a website, and it's a coupon website or notifications about sales, and it's saying, do you want to be notified about sales? And it's heck yeah is the button, that's exciting. But maybe someone's like, no, I don't. I finally got my inbox to 0, and I don't want any extra emails. But now you have to click on this button that says, nope, I'm rich, to reject these pop-ups. That is, there's a lot of things wrong with that. One, I have to assume rich people also want good deals, so that seems silly to assume that rich people don't. And two, it seems a little bit condescending and annoying to a user who's now I was on this website and they're clearly getting some benefit from this website, but now I had to essentially tell you, nope, I'm rich because I don't want to get your emails. Now that leaves a bad experience and a bad kind of flavor or an emotional interaction to the usage of this website that didn't exist before and could have easily just been solved if you had an X button, for instance, or just cancel. Another variation, and this one's more common, is time manipulation. So this can happen in numerous different ways. So time manipulation can happen. The most common one we can think of is it takes a lot longer to undo something than it did to do it. And I phrase this in that way for this reason. So there's this great video online, and this will all be linked in the slides when you get them later, on just explaining how dark patterns trick you online. And in this video, they detail the number of steps that it takes to go in to cancel an Amazon account. And it's very funny, but also very frustrating. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to go through the process of canceling an Amazon account. I haven't. I think many people haven't, which I think is why they make it so difficult. But it's this video, a lot of the comments in the YouTube section just say this should just be renamed how to cancel your Amazon account. Because when you go through, it details, hey, Amazon, you go in, it takes 3 steps to create an account, and it takes 12 very confusing, very hidden, very dark patterny ways to cancel your account if you want to cancel an Amazon account. And in this case, that's a time manipulation, because many people are going to just drop off halfway through and just be like, you know what, forget it. I'll just deal with this another time, and probably not come back to it. And now, guess what? You now are still paying for that account, or you're still having your information, go to Amazon. Versus it took 3 steps to create one. Go in, add a name and email, and now you have an account. This is the other version of time manipulation. So this one, they artificially created pressure by having a countdown timer on the accept button. Of course, if you hit deny, you're probably not going to be able to use this website anymore. But also, you probably aren't going to be able to click through and go in and find out the information you need that's hidden behind that accept button. Like, what's actually happening? What am I accepting? But the fact that they've created this artificial pressure on this is another form of time manipulation. And lastly, this is the biggest one. I think this is the most common one. There's task or intent manipulation. So I'm coming to a website. I want to read this news article. And this thing pops up in my face. And it's saying, hey, do this thing so you can get back to your article. And many people are just like, I just want to read the article. So they'll hit accept and they'll move on. But that's very annoying because you don't know what you just accepted. And for GDPR compliance, it's just like, OK, they're tracking me and they're tracking me anyway, so fine. But for something else, like if you're paying, if it's a site that's like maybe dealing with money or something, that could be a problem because you might have just like, signed yourself up for a subscription, and now you have to go in and find a way to undo it. So task or intent manipulation is one of the bigger ones. And this takes me back to this example that I showed earlier. So, why was this here? This was being forced to, a user is now being forced to download this app when they just intended to keep scrolling down and keep reading an article that they probably were reading the first paragraph of, and they want to keep reading. So they're interrupting your task, which is, I want to keep reading this, by forcing you to try to download their app. And there's many others. I think these 3 categories encompass a lot of the different variations of dark patterns you have out there and the manipulations that are behind them. But there's others as well. And I'm sure there's going to be new ones invented every day, especially as Josh was alluding to earlier. We have machine learning and AI emerging every day and thinking of problems we haven't even discovered yet. So why are dark patterns a problem? Just stepping back from the specific UI stuff, why are these a problem? There's 2 main reasons. One, it degrades user trust. So I'm a user. I want to use the system. I want to read this news site. I want to, read the news, or whatever these sites are. And I now have a bad taste in my mouth because I've gone through this thing that's kind of like stolen my information, or not stolen, but like kind of like tricked me into giving information or conducting some tasks that I may not intend to have done. And that can actually last a long time, especially in this day and age where people will tweet out immediately when they're like, hey, here's a screenshot. I do this myself, so verified action here. People will take a screenshot of it. They'll tweet about it. They'll be like, this is terrible. I'll actually tweet at the company and say, hey, maybe you should have someone relook at this design because this is really annoying. And now there's a record of it, and other people will probably jump in and confirm that this is really annoying. So this degrades user trust in your system. So here's actually a screenshot from online, and there's lots of interesting examples of it. Again, this is a food blog or something giving tips, and you have to click, no, I don't eat healthy food, in order to reject their newsletter. And that's really annoying. I'm on this website. Obviously, I care about healthy food. That's why I came to the website, and I'm learning about this, these recipes. But the fact that it's like, no, I don't eat healthy food, no one wants to click on that because clearly no one, even if you don't eat healthy food, you might want to lie and say you eat healthy food. But no one wants to have to go through that process every time to, reject a newsletter. And it's also overall inefficient design. And I think this is one that resonates with us as UX practitioners because we tend to be users ourselves, and we want to design efficient systems, ideally. I think that's part of our job description, wanting to make it so that a design can convey and do what people intend for it to do. So one last time showing this example again. So you are using this product, you're scrolling down, you're reading this help article, and this pops up. Now, it's saying download the app. And why would someone actually have this built into their system? Well, maybe you have a goal or some metric you want to hit. You want to increase the number of app users for the product. Maybe the app experience is superior. Maybe it's just like, you shouldn't use mobile web. You should be using the app. There's many reasons why this happens. The reason itself isn't necessarily dark, but this method of going about it, trying to force someone to download the app to continue using it, can lead to a negative user experience for this problem. So for instance, there might be numerous reasons why someone doesn't want to download that app right now. Maybe they're using data, and they don't want to waste their data to download this, so they'll wait till they're on Wi-Fi. Or maybe someone has a small phone, or their phone doesn't have a lot of storage, so they don't want to download another app. They just want to read on mobile web, and it's fine. Or maybe they just don't want to download an app. That's a very valid reason for not downloading something. There's many reasons why someone may not want to do this. But now, the fact that this design has kind of tried to force people over to this App Store interaction, one, is breaking their intent for just reading an answer. Two, it's going to leave a bad taste on them, or a bad experience and sentiment associated with this product now, because every time they go back, they know, oh, I'm probably going to get pushed into doing something, or they're trying to force me to download the app. And it could have easily been solved with maybe an explanation, some text saying, hey, the app experience is better. You should check it out. Or a simple X button, which, next time they open the product, maybe they're on Wi-Fi, or maybe they have a bigger phone and they can do it. But now, the only way to get out of that dialogue on the left is by clicking through it, going to the App Store, closing it all down, and now they've lost a reader. So this is becoming egregious enough that the United States Senate is introduced a bill this summer to try to make this illegal, this practice of dark patterns. So, good luck to them. We'll see. But it could be an interesting to see how they try to regulate this, if anything. So, what can we do? We're here at a UX conference. We're UX practitioners. What can we possibly do to help fix this? So, I think we should just go back to the definition that I showed before, and just kind of flip it on its head. So a design that intentionally takes advantage of human behaviors to achieve unintended actions from a user. So if we break down the different parts of it, we should design intentionally. We should intentionally design experience to be positive for our users and make sure that we are thinking and considering their perspectives when we are creating our interfaces and our products and the flows of it. We should have a basic understanding of human behaviors. I have a PhD in psychology. You do not need a PhD in psychology to understand that some things frustrate people if they are trying to do something and you interrupt them from doing it. Don't need a PhD to know that. Basic human behaviors, like people are using your product, and people generally haven't changed too much in the past, 100, 200 years, from a psychology perspective. The technology has changed, but the way that people cognitively intake things is generally consistent. So try not to manipulate that or take advantage of it. Unintended actions. We should always try to intend and design our interfaces so that it can be very clear to our users what is happening. Josh also mentioned that earlier with AI, and machine learning. If you can explain when the algorithm doesn't know what's going on, it makes it better and makes people understand and feel more trustworthy in the system. And the same just works for just plain UIs. If we can explain, hey, you should download the app because it's a better experience, someone might actually want to consider doing it. And that's actually better than just saying, hey, download this app and tricking you into try to do it. And just think about our users. We're all users ourselves, and we are using these products. And our users we should always think about our users' experiences when they're going through our product. What is it that we want them to do? How do we make sure that we can get them to do it in a way that they feel empowered? And also, how do we make it so that it's something that they want to come back to, and we don't have to resort to manipulation to keep them in our product or coming back to it? So I think overall, we should be asking questions. Does a design try to guide our users to or away from something? And if so, what is the underlying reason for that guidance? Again, it doesn't need to necessarily be bad to try to guide someone into something, but you just need to think about how you're guiding it and why are you guiding them to it. And make it very clear to the user so they can understand this without having to read a lot of text that's not going to be read or complain online before something gets fixed. Do we explain and make it clear why certain actions are being encouraged? So again, some simple text would have explained why that app is trying to get you to download their app and not their website. And lastly, do we allow users to have control with the experience? So can they back up? Can they hit undo? Can they hit X? Can they close something? Users should be empowered to exit or have some control over their experience whenever they get into a situation. It shouldn't be impossible to cancel an account that was very easy to create, and other examples that we can think of. So this is an ongoing conversation. You can find a lot more fun TM, dark patterns, online. Obviously, darkpatterns.org is a great resource, and Harry Brignall has made this his thing, and I love it. On Twitter, hashtag dark patterns, hashtag dark UX, and also just the dark patterns Twitter page is really great. Pardon the language, but Reddit has a subreddit, asshole design, and it is hilarious because they have dark patterns, but they also have other types of ones that are just like, bad UX in general, or even just like lots of different versions of the stuff I've shown today. And then confirm shaming on Tumblr, they specifically call out the ones that I was mentioning where it's like, it has the weird text that is the rejection text. So there's a whole compilation of them there. And obviously, in your day-to-day internet usage, you'll probably encounter some dark patterns too. So hopefully you'll take some screenshots of them and share them on Twitter, because the only way this will all change is if I think a lot of people realize and call out these companies for doing these behaviors. So let's discuss. Thanks so much.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. We have many awesome questions here. Let's start with this one. How do you push back when stakeholders recommend using a dark pattern? Shaming them seems unhelpful. What do you think?
That's a good question. I think that there's a few methods you can do for this. One is you want them to gain empathy for the user who is going through this. So as a researcher, I always try to loop my stakeholders in on research. I will either in person, have them observe people going through this and talking and expressing their frustration, or sometimes you can't do that real time, but most of our sessions, we record our sessions for later transcription and such, and we'll compile interesting tidbits. If I did a research session with 10 people and some significant portion of them all had the same exact issue, it is very hard to compile clips, like a highlight reel, for lack of a better term, of everyone struggling with that same part and showing that to someone, a stakeholder, and just being like, thoughts? And very rarely are they like, that's working as intended, that's what we want. Because they realize that's not fun. And even though it might be a few people right there, those few people represent a large portion potentially of the audience and population using your product. So I think trying to emphasize the empathy aspect of this and figuring out ways to get your stakeholders to gain that empathy is a way to push back on that.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you kind of change the storyline where a stakeholder might be convinced this is really effective. Look at all these numbers. You can show a different side of that story that has a cost.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
OK. This is the most popular question.
OK.
Brace yourself.
OK.
How do you face into this yourself at YouTube?
Oh, wow. OK. No pressure. OK, so I am one of literally almost 200 people who are working on UX at YouTube. And, it's a team effort. It's ongoing. Different team, lots of people are working on different parts of YouTube. So how do we do this? We do the same thing that we should all be doing. We're talking to our stakeholders. We're trying to build empathy. We're trying to, sometimes you're not going to win that battle. And, that's just the reality of it, unfortunately. We work in businesses that have to make money off users. But, I think the best thing is we are trying to push back where we can. And sometimes it doesn't work. But all we can do is raise those questions and make sure that we as UX practitioners, whether you're a designer or a researcher, we're representing our users. So we need to make sure that we are bringing up the questions and making sure the user perspective is being heard in the room, even if it doesn't leave the room, even if it doesn't necessarily translate into product. Our job is to still be making sure that people are aware of it. So if they choose to ignore it, that's on them. That's not on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this question is kind of connected. I guess there are several questions. I'm going to weave them into one.
Okay.
I guess there's some challenges in which you're dealing with a dark pattern that has already shipped in the product. It's already out, and now you're calling attention to it and trying to convince people to change something that's already out. Mm-hmm. And then there's another mode where you don't let that stuff even go out the door.
Yeah.
Someone raised the question that how do you work with a product owner or, say, a marketing team that feels like they really, really should be shipping this particular dark pattern? Like, this is the tactic that works.
Yeah.
So it hasn't shipped yet. Mm-hmm. So there's still a chance to kind of tip them.
Roll it back, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's just more of making sure you're trying to get, I guess, outline and make it very clear. Why do you, as the UX practitioner, think that this is a dark pattern? Is it based off existing patterns and this is being copied and you want to, and they are like, oh, this works. Why do they know it works? If it actually is a dark pattern, yeah, it works, but then maybe show that the sentiment around that product is actually now negative because of it. Or if it's something that's brand new, but it feels dark, kind of, again, just you can allude to different things. Like there's the underlying reasons that I kind of outlined, the different manipulations. Maybe this is a new version and it's brand new, but it might be taking advantage of one of those manipulations. And maybe it could be addressed by something simple as some like help text or even allowing more escape paths before someone gets down there. I think there's different ways we can try to modify these systems, or even if it might be that it needs to go out for X business reason, we can still try to make it and mitigate it as much as we can using design.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is, as a UX person, we may not be able to stop the train from leaving, but we can make it less terrible somehow.
Yes.
And if we do that enough times, maybe we can change the pattern of behavior, right?
Yeah.
Fewer of those experiences go out.
Good weaving in of the train metaphor there.
It's hard. The train.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.